unexplainable, melanated match. It's unexplainable, it's unconditional, it's unforgettable, unstoppable, so intentional, it's so invitable, indescribable.
Hello, and welcome to his
and her perspective.
And here at His and Her Perspective, we find common ground to harmonize relationships. And we do that by having conversations that we're going to have, like we're going to have today. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm good, sis. I'm good. How are you? You look fabulous. You look lovely.
Thank you very much. And so do you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. How's your week been?
It's been good. I've been battling a little bit of a cold, but small things to a giant. I'm good. How's yours?
It has been wonderful. Very busy, but good. Oh my God, this little gnat.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, y'all. Listen, today we're going to talk about I cheated, but it's your fault.
Ooh.
This is going to be hot, y'all. So if y'all are looking at us right now, make sure that you're clicking the share button. Can't do a watch party, no worries. You can tag everybody, right? Make sure that you are following all of our pages over at all the social media platforms, Vaun the Love Alchemist, Coach Michelamonè, and all things relevant at ATR. All social media platforms. Make sure that you're following all of those pages so that you can keep track of what we're doing, when we'll be live, what shows we're going to be putting up, and all that good stuff. So this is going to be hot. I am excited. I have been working on this as we talked about this show and set this up. And so I'm waiting, y'all. Let's see who over here is on. We got Brother Julius tuning in from West Savannah. How you doing?
Brother Julius was good.
Hey, Desi, how you doing, my sister?
My lovely other half. How you doing, beloved?
Hey, Yardley from the bakery.
My man Yardley always making the donuts. You're going to have to stop by and bring us some, bro.
We got your brother over there. Hey, you doing? How you doing, D. Jackson?
And then, bruh.
My sister, lovely sister, good evening to you.
Sierra, how you doing, sis? And Ayana.
Hey, Ayana, how y'all doing? Thank y'all so much for joining us. Make sure that y'all gonna have me fighting this little gnat.
Look, you can't have company and do a show.
It's ridiculous. And it's like, as soon as the lights come on, here he comes. I think he wants to get some play on the show.
You got to put some fruit in the other corner of the room, and that way they stay away from you.
Right, because I'm just so sweet. It just keeps attracting it.
There you go. That's what it probably is right there. That's probably what it is.
Listen, y'all, we only got one heart on the books up here. What's up? We got all these folk up here. Come on, give us some hearts. Give us some hearts.
It's not fair, family.
Y'all don't love us no more.
Where the love?
Where is it? Come on. So listen, this show is also, we talked about Melanated Match, but it is also sponsored by The Conditions of Love, written by Vaun the Love Alchemist. Go ahead and show your book.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
My wife writ together. We writ this.
Writ it.
Or should I say we wrote it? I don't know how you say it.
It's all right. We'll get every now and again.
33 years of marital and relationship experience put together by my lovely wife and myself. Just sharing, what some of the tips that have gotten us this far. So to you and yours, you can get that at www.theconditionsoflove.com.
Can you put that in there, Des?
I can put that in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. As well as Rejection Saved My Life, 15 transformational keys on using rejection as fuel. Fuel it's an acronym, stands for faith upgraded to exponential levels. This book I've sold over 3,000 copies. Okay, it has helped a lot of people, both male and female. They've talked about how it's helped them with rejection and things of that sort. It's a good read. I've been told, right? A lot of people have said that they have gone through every emotion that they possibly thought that they had while reading this book. It makes you want to laugh, it makes you want to cry, it makes you want to throw the book, it makes you go, what the, all of those things, right? So make sure that you get the book to support us, support
your
your
website.
people.
Your website is coachmichelamonè.com, right?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Gotcha.
So thank you. So listen, let's move in. This is going to be good. Again, if y'all looking at us, make sure that you're sharing, tagging some people and letting them know. I don't care if it's family, friends, or foe. Let them know that we are here. Okay. So listen, I want to start this off with some questions. What do you think, brother? Can we do it? All right. So I've been, of course, I'm always doing my research. We both do our research on when we're doing these shows, because we want to make sure that we not only are entertaining you, but we're giving you some really solid information that can be used and is going to be beneficial to your life. So one of the things that I came across is some reasons why they say that people, cheat, right? So they say that we share an address, but little else. Statistics show that couples who lead separate social lives are much more likely to cheat than couples who spend more time enjoying common friends and interests. What do you think about that?
Wow. So you're saying they share a different address? Is that what you said?
No, so they share the address, which means they live together, but that's about it. All they are is just kind of roommates. They're not doing much of anything else, not spending time together, and any of those types of things.
Yeah, I can see how people can use how that can be a foundational explanation. I don't know that it's an excuse, but it is it can be explained that way because at the foundation of it is the relationship. How are you relating to one another? And if all you share is an address, then you present to the world many portals or gateways into your relationship that should otherwise be sealed.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you think that it's the person that cheated's fault because they're not sharing? Or do you think it's the person that got cheated on fault because they didn't share?
So my wife and I, we had a good conversation about this earlier this week. And she presented to me something that I hadn't thought of. And so typically I would say it's the person who cheated. It's their fault. Right. But there's a caveat that what if you cheat first and you cheat on someone who had never even considered cheating? And now all of a sudden, because of your infidelity, we talk about opening portals or opening gateways, avenues into our relationship. And because of your indiscretion, now you've planted the seed in their mind that they want to get even. They got to get you back. Well, since they did it, ain't no point in me, foregoing all of the temptation that I forego, and then they go and cheat. Yeah. Now, I still say it's their fault, but now you're partly to blame, at least for opening the doorway or presenting them with an option that they had not yet even considered. What do you think about that?
That's a different way of looking at it. I think that, there's some revenge cheating going on. People do that. I actually think that both parties have something to do with it no matter what.
Okay, explain.
And so I'll give you a perfect example. So I had a particular relationship where there was a lot of cheating going on. And I feel like there were some things I didn't do in my relationship that opened that portal, right? You have to protect. We always talk about in our shows, protecting your spouse, protecting your relationship. And part of protecting your relationship is making sure that you do your 100% and they're doing their 100% so that y'all both coming together as the one. So if somebody's complaining to the spouse about, lack of sex, or you always coming for me, or you never talk about what I do good, or you always complaining, and that person is human, right? So it doesn't make it right, wrong, or indifferent that they're cheating. They have to deal with their God to deal with that, right? But I think that when we don't do our part, it opens up for somebody to come into the door and tempt them.
So let's ask the family. I mean, what do y'all think? I like to know what the viewers think.
Yeah.
That's interesting though. You know, let me ask you this: does it open the door for them to start considering other options, or does it? I had the question in my mind. Now I lost it that quick. Or does it open the door for them to begin looking for an exit from the relationship with you?
You know what? I don't think that people that cheat are looking for an exit. I think they're looking to fill a void. And the reason why is because if they're looking for an exit, just leave.
Mm.
You know, most people are not expecting to get caught. They're thinking that they're smart enough to get away with it. So there are some people, there's a small amount of people that are cheating to get caught so that they can have an exit. But I don't think that that's the majority of people. I think the majority of people are cheating to fill a void. And sometimes they're like, there's this clinical experience that they did with 4,000 people who cheated. And they did this through this website. Talk about melanatedmatch.com, who is a Black site owned by Black people for Black people with dating, right? Anyway, shameless plug for them. But there's another site that is geared, just this one site that's mainly out there, a huge site with over 4,000 people on it, that are active, I should say, that is geared just to cheating. They know that they're getting on there. The people who are on there that are hooking up with them, it's a cheater site. And they say that they did this this survey. And in the survey, they said that it's less likely to be a symptom of a problem and more likely an expansive experience that involves growth, exploration, and transformation. So they're trying they're trying to escape something totally entirely different, to embark upon a misguided and hurtful journey of self-discovery.
That sounds like a fancy way of excusing someone's lack of integrity. That's what it sounds like. I mean, that's a lot of $5 words that, you really didn't have to go that far, I don't think.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to mention that. What y'all think about that? Because that was the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yardley says, I think that it is the fault on both parties. For the man, you never establish how and what the requirements of expected behavior were to maintain committed relationship. For the woman, masculine traits, disrespectfulness, disagreeableness, and boredom. What do you think about that?
I think he's on to something there. And most people don't. Most people are not walking into the relationship because they think that we're two adults dealing in adultness, and that it's a given that I want respect from you. Most people are not having that conversation. I mean, they expect it, but how many times have you sat down when you met somebody and then you say, you know what, so we're in this relationship and I kind of expect you to respect me. I kind of expect you to be loyal. I don't want you to do this, or that. Because then if they have this conversation, some people look at it like control. Like, you're trying to tell me what to do. I don't need you to tell me how to be in a relationship, when we do. We really do. Right? So what do you think about that?
Well, so I wanted to follow up with this thing about from the perspective he just shared, that the woman is more likely to cheat. Well, we have different reasons, is what he's presenting here, is that there are different reasons that men may cheat versus reasons that women may cheat. Do you think that there's a line, and here are the reasons that men typically cheat versus these are the reasons that women typically cheat, and boredom being one of those, for instance, that women are more likely to cheat because of boredom than a man is?
I think that there are some of them that can kind of go together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are some reasons that women won't cheat, even though it's happening, i.e. disrespect. So a man could be being disrespected and a woman could be being disrespected, but that doesn't mean she'll step outside of her marriage. Doesn't mean that this is a general thing. I'm just saying that it's possible. So I don't think that he's a long way off. I don't think that I don't think it's the majority, but I think that it happens that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can smoke a bag of that.
Yeah.
And you asked me a question, and I what were you asking me?
I was asking you what you thought about what he said.
Oh, same question to me, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's easier for a woman to get bored in a sexual relationship than it is for men. And I think this is something that you and I discussed before, where, women have multiple things that they're thinking about, whereas men, we don't take as much to get us ready to go. Women, the temperature in the room has to be right. Is the laundry done? Are the kids quiet enough? Can the kids hear us? Like men, did I get my work done like women have all these different programs that they have to shut down in their mind. And men don't typically have all these different things. Like if we want it, all we know is we want it, and can we close the door? Can we get it in? And whereas I don't think that women typically are that singularly focused on getting it in. Typically, now I know there are exceptions, but I'm saying, what do you think about that?
Okay, so I can smoke a bag of that when you go not typical, but it happens.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are some women who are just highly sexual, and it doesn't have anything to do with what she's thinking about. She's just ready to get it on.
Yeah.
But then there's some women who feel like, I need my mind clear because they got a lot going on. But I think that much of that has to do with a woman knowing her body sexually. See, a lot of women don't explore their bodies sexually because of things.
Say more.
Because we have been told that that's wrong. You don't do that. But if you don't explore your own body and know what your body can do or what your body needs, how will you want him to do it? And most times, this is the thing. Nobody's having these uncomfortable conversations to say, hey, babe, so, last week when we were, getting it on, when you was on the left side, down at the bottom, up under there, I didn't like that. Or, you know what, babe, the last time you did that, you brought me to the heavens. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're not having those conversations because it sounds like we're telling them what to do. But if you want a long-lasting, healthy sexual relationship with your partner, you better be having the conversations so that they won't find somebody who will tell them what to do.
Uncomfortable conversations. Is that? We might need to do a show about that.
I think we do. Let me write that down.
Yeah, uncomfortable conversations. So there are and I think it's probably, I don't know, do you think that family, let me ask the family, do you think that men or women are less likely to share these uncomfortable truths? And here's an idea. So what if there's body odor from either one or the other? Because, whatever, right? What if there's a body odor and, this is somebody whose feelings you don't want to hurt, somebody that you really care about or whatever? Who do you think is less likely to say something about the uncomfortable body odor? That's for you, for the family. Go ahead.
I think the man is less likely to say it.
Why?
Because he thinks that the woman is going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that to me. And typically he's right. Typically, right? You tell a dude, if dude do this, you laying here, woman, he do this, come on up. You got a problem. If he ain't down there, or he done went down there once and he ain't went back down, you got a problem. Either you don't taste right or you don't smell right. And most men are not going to say they just ain't going there no more. And so then the woman's trying to figure out why in the world he won't give me, because it's something he didn't like.
As you mentioned that, the whole taste factor. And I remember Erykah Badu made a post that went viral, and she said something about, I think it was cranberry juice or something like that can positively or pleasantly affect the taste. You familiar with any of that? Have you heard anything?
I've not heard the cranberry juice, but it makes sense because of the acidity, because the vagina is naturally acidic.
Okay.
So because it's naturally acidic, it's going to, when the semen hits, it's going to mess up the pH balance.
Okay.
So when that happens, then you're going to have a certain type of smell, right? Which is what we people call the sex smell. But if she is naturally, if she's high in acidity in her body, she's going to have more acid, and it's going to leave her a tone that he may not be. If you have to like it, you have to really be in your mind. I like going down on my partner, both male and female. It has to be a thing in your mind where it's enjoyable to you, just like it's enjoyable to them. And if you're not, I know we done went off to this is a whole sex conversation, but this has to do with it being your fault. Because if you are not pleasing your partner in any way, shape, or form, you're opening the door of temptation, like Coach Vaun said earlier.
Or if you're presenting a turnoff to your partner.
Yep.
If you don't smell right, if you're scared to range off, right? As my grandmama would say, you got to reach around and range off.
Yeah. And now some men don't. He want it pure. He want it purely. That's what it smelled like. I want that. But you have to know what your partner wants, right?
Yeah.
You know, your partner may not want you tasting like the pineapple juice, because that's another thing. Drink pineapples, eat pineapples, do it frequently. If you know you're about to get it on, you know, y'all planning because y'all busy. That Friday, y'all going out to hook up. By Tuesday, Wednesday, start drinking you some pineapple juice. Eat some pineapples.
There it is. They go to secrets.
Okay. And you'll be just right, girl. But yeah, so you just have to make sure that you are doing what's necessary to entice your partner and keep somebody else from enticing them. Because there's always temptation out there. There's always temptation. Listen, this they said that it's something about 67%. I'm looking for I got so much stuff on these papers. 67% of people say that they do not cheat because the person they're cheating on is more attractive or better off than the other person. It has nothing to do with the attraction of what the person looks like. It's all about how they make them feel.
So this is the person you're saying that they're cheating with?
The person that's cheating is not looking for attractions. They're saying that it's not about that person that they're cheating with being finer or better off or more intelligent than the partner that they have. As a matter of fact, when according to this, they say 25% of men said that their mistresses were more interesting. Their mistresses were more interesting too. Opportunistic reasons such as people were hitting on me and the other person was really there for me. Those are reasons. That's only 25%. The other 75% of people are saying that they don't have nothing on their husband or wife or their girl or guy. They did it because it was opportunity.
Now there are scenarios to the point that you just made. There are scenarios where if a person doesn't feel good in the relationship, then again, we're talking about gateways, right? Portals, points of entry for the enemy, right? When there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. Right? So if you make your man, for instance, feel like less than a man, if he doesn't get that soft landing from his hard reality, and then there's a young lady, maybe a coworker or whatever, and she's always telling, oh, you look so strong, or you so this. She presents him with an element of softness that's missing from home, right? Yeah. She doesn't even have to be as cute as the wife. Yeah. This is the point that you were just making. She doesn't have to. She can be whatever. The wife can be a dime, a 10, and this woman can be a 6, and all of a sudden there's an attraction there, not because she's so great, but because of the void that you're leaving in his life. And I think the same thing might exist in the opposite direction too, where maybe you don't like, as a man, maybe you don't like to talk to your wife as much. Maybe she's had some frustration throughout her day, and she would love to have you just to bend your ear to what it is that she's dealing with, and maybe even get some feedback from you. But you're so consumed with what it is that you're going through, and maybe you don't want to listen because you've heard her stories 1,000 times already. And then this coworker that she has, he just listens so well. And then on top of that, he's funny. He makes her laugh, and all of a sudden, he provides this soft landing from her hard reality, gateways, portals. And I think that what we're missing oftentimes is finding ways that we can be there for each other in ways that we need each other to comfort each other. And I know I sound real soft and mushy, but I'm saying that we have to start finding ways to accommodate what the other person needs from us and what they desire from us, rather than being so caught up in our own thing. And I think that selfishness oftentimes is what opens that gateway. What do you think?
I think that's very important, because if people are not paying attention to their spouse, somebody else will pay attention to your spouse or your girlfriend, for dating people that are boyfriend, girlfriend. If your person, your man or your woman is not being paid attention to by you, trust and believe, eventually somebody else will pay attention to them. All they need is one opportunistic moment.
Yeah.
Y'all know, leave me alone. Y'all know sometimes my tongue get tired. But that's all they need is one. And you will fall into some stuff. You'll be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened. But it happens. So then why keep it's again, would you walk into your house? You finally got that house that you love so much, you to put all the furniture in it that you just, oh my God, I couldn't wait to get this. And then you walk in the door and leave the door open.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Nah, you gonna lock the door. You're gonna put the alarm system on it. You're gonna check all the doors before you go to bed. You checking the windows, make sure that they're locked. Going on vacation, you doing all those types of things. Why is it that we are not protecting our relationships the same way we're protecting everything else?
So, as you mentioned, protecting our relationship, right? And I see this comment that John just made. He says, in most cases, men are visual, women are emotional. And so I kind of want to take that in this direction for a second, because that's a common cliche, is what I call it. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that I think that to a large extent that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Because I think that women are just as visual as men are. Maybe even more. And I remember watching, I think it was Why Did I Get Married? And that scene where Jill Scott, where she was working in the shop with the what's his name, with the brother that she ended up moving on from her husband to, and the camera was panning over his muscles and the sweat, and she just sitting there fantasizing, licking her lips. He talking to her, and she can't hear nothing because she just so locked in on his physical attraction, right? And I think that men often underestimate just how visual women are. So I'm saying that to say this. We're talking about cheating, right?
Yes.
Do you think that maintaining our physical appeal for our mate in the relationship, or let me say it this way, the failure to maintain that physical appeal opens a gateway potentially for cheating?
I think it opens a gateway. Absolutely. If you looking at your partner 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in, they have changed. And don't get me wrong, we all change, right? Yeah. We all have our transformations in our bodies. We get older and things of that sort, but you still need to maintain this attraction between you and your partner. And if all he sees you, and I'm speaking for the women because I can, you speak for the men. If all he sees you in is a bonnet, or you never change your hair, or he has never seen you dress up in years because you work around the house, or whatever the case may be, you have got to get to the place where he step in the crib and he look at you like, who the heck, what my wife got? Who? He got to do that. And the same thing, because for the women, let me tell you, I am a very visual woman, and that most women I know are. You can't go from 6-pack, 4-pack to what's the name of that thing? The keg.
Just one app.
No, you can't have a keg.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna go so far as he says, first of all, let me get this. Mal V says, good evening, family. John says, you are absolutely wrong. A man can see a woman for the very first time and sleep with her. Women have to be more emotionally connected.
No. Women can have one night stands. How do you think that you having a one night stand with her? You weren't doing it by yourself.
Right.
If you had a one night stand, so did she.
Yeah, good point. And I think that there's this idea that men have a greater ability to smash and dash. But I'm telling you, man, as time has progressed, as society has moved on and women have become more able to fend for themselves, we are starting to see that women are much more like men than I think we're comfortable with. There's not as much difference between us as we like to fantasize about. Now, there are always going to be women who are more reserved and less likely to get physical, but there are more men than we think who are slow or hesitant to get into the physical aspect of it too. So, but before we leap forward into that, let me get back to what we were just talking about with maintaining the physical. I think somebody might disagree with me when I say this, but I think when you get married, you're asking somebody to be exclusive. You're asking them for exclusive rights to their body and for them to have exclusive rights to your body. You don't want me to touch nobody else. I don't want you to touch nobody else. I think you owe me and I owe you, to the best of my ability, to maintain some level of physical appeal. Because you telling me, look, the first time I ate a saltines cracker, a Ritz cracker, I was like, man, that's pretty damn good. But after about 30 days in a row, I'm like, all right, it ain't nothing so fancy. So but it's okay. I can still keep eating that Ritz cracker as long as it's fresh. But if you leave the wrapper open and it starts to get a little stale over time, I'm equating that Ritz cracker getting stale to the deteriorating physical appeal that we bring to the relationship. So at first I had a six pack. You were real attracted to my abs being all tight. Now all of a sudden my belly is sitting in my lap. You know what I mean? And I'm asking you to stay turned on by me, but in the meanwhile, I'm doing things that become less and less appealing to you. And I'm saying, I think that one of the things, again, my book is called The Conditions of Love, right? I think that one of the conditions that we tend to neglect is the maintenance of ourselves that we owe to our mate. What do you think about that?
I think that you are 1000% accurate. I think that we have to maintain that. And if we don't, we are putting ourselves up. What's the word I want to say? We're opening ourselves up for disappointment. Because and I need to be clear. If something happens physically to your partner, they go through, having an injury or something, they're sick or ill, those types of things are excusable, right? But if just because you just don't want to do nothing no more, you not being active, you sitting up eating up everything that you can, you don't want to go, that is opening doors, because we're living in an Instagram model age. So these men and women, and I want to go back to what Jackson, we're going to come back to that. It's going to tie into this. Men and women, we both, as Brother Vaun just said, we are just as visual You know, like Yarley talked about those gray sweatpants and ponytails. Women won't. We can't wait for gray sweatpants season to come out.
Mm-hmm.
You think that you are on Facebook seeing women talk about the gray pants, the gray sweatpants? They're not just talking about just, oh, you got them from Walmart. No, they looking for the gray sweatpants.
Right.
So it's like we have to pay attention to that. We have to be able to say to each other, hey, babe, what are we doing? How do you feel about me right now? You think I need to tighten up on anything? How am I looking to you? And people are not having those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And so going back to what Jackson John said, he says that he thought the conversation was about an affair. It is still the same thing. If you're able to go and have a one-night stand, do not put it up against, if that man, not you particularly, just saying in general, if that man is not taking care of his wife at home or his woman at home, do not think that she is incapable of having a one-night stand or going out and having a glass of wine because she's pissed off at you, and then some dude who looking hot sitting there having this conversation with her, and they click, and they don't hit the hotel at the top, because they're in the bottom at the bar. Don't think it's not possible, because it is. It happens more often than you think. As a matter of fact, most people don't know this statistic, but women cheat more, 25% more than men do.
Wow. 25% more than men do?
25% more than men do. Women cheat more.
Wow. Let me hit the wow face.
and one of the reasons is y'all get caught doing stuff. Y'all just get caught. Y'all don't know how to keep the last.
So it's not that women necessarily cheat more, they just better at it. Is that what you're saying?
No, they do cheat more.
Oh, you think women?
It's statistic.
Wow.
It's statistic. Yeah, 25% more women cheat.
And on top of that, they just get caught less.
They get caught less.
Because men tend to be, and this goes back to just how women are more technical, not technical, but more savvy. They're more detail oriented.
Yeah, remember stuff more.
Yeah, and I think men tend to be more complacent. Like, I don't know. I think that there are many reasons towards that end why men end up getting caught, because like my routine is real simple. It would be easy to catch me because my routine is basic. I go to work, I come home, pretty much. And if I'm outside of that, either I'm working with another client, or me and my lady, we kicking it. And there's very little variance in my routine. So if I started, coming home from work later or staying out later in the evening, I mean, those are easy red flags to pick up on for me. Whereas, I think maybe it might be it would be easier for my wife to get away with it if that's what she was interested in.
Yeah. And so he said that I just want to thank you and going to put our plan in action. Let me say this. When you are in a place in your life, now we're talking about people that don't know what their purpose of their entire relationship is. Because see, when you know what the purpose of your relationship is, this is how you have a marriage who's been married together for 31 years, married and been together for longer than that, because they understand their purpose. Right? They understand what they both bring to the table. So they're not going to jeopardize the beauty in that for a one-night stand.
Right.
Or a little piece of meat, when all you got to do is go to your husband or your wife, your guy, your girl, and make sure that they're hitting all the things that you're lacking. Because if there's some voids, this is what we talk about. Whose fault is it? It's both of y'all fault. If you got a void and you have not shared it with your partner, it's your fault. If your partner is sharing their void with you and you keep ignoring them and doing the same thing, making a bigger void, a void, it's your fault. If they go out and they go and fill those things, because you need to be paying attention. Your relationship should have a communicative value that you can go to your partner and say, babe, hey, what am I doing? How am I doing with you? Am I fulfilling everything that you need me to fulfill? Now, here's a caveat. You cannot expect your partner to make you happy if you haven't made yourself happy.
Ooh, say more. Say more. Go deeper on that.
Because if this is a thing, so many times we have people in relationships where they tell me, I'm not happy. But then when they get out of that relationship, they sitting at home sulking. Why? You're sulking because you don't know yourself. You're sulking because you haven't taken time to do something with you. You don't take yourself out. You don't do anything but the natural things to do. Get your hair and nails done. But how much of your alone time are you spending making yourself happy, building yourself up, knowing who you are? So in case, God forbid, even if your partner or your spouse dies, what would you do with yourself? Who are you outside of Mr. or Mrs.? Who are you outside of that's my man, that's my woman? Who are you? And if you don't know who you are, your partner has no winning chance of figuring it out for you.
Now, okay. I love what you just said. Now watch this. I want to, first of all, what the angle is that you're taking is, of course, if both people want something healthy, right? And both people are trying to do the right thing. But there are scenarios where some people just want what they want. They're filled with that lust bug and they got to scratch that itch. And ain't nothing you can do about that.
Absolutely.
Right. So in those scenarios, if you have somebody they're just as committed to cheating as they are to keeping the marriage. Right. I mean, you can't take responsibility for somebody who wasn't ready to be married. Let me just say it that way.
Right.
Right. But here's a question. Who's more likely to forgive, men or women? In your experience, in your observation, you coach, you family, who do you think is more likely to forgive in the event that cheating takes place?
The thing that I've encountered in my couples that I coach, it's been 50-50.
Okay.
I've had men that have been cheated on multiple times and they forgiven. And I was like, what? It kind of shocked me too, because before being a coach, I had no idea. So I've experienced 50-50. What about you?
Yeah, I've seen more women forgive than men. And I say, and I think there's a reason for that. I think, and I do think that women have ego. I think women are ego driven, but I think when it comes to sex, typically men are simpler, and to the point that somebody made earlier, I think it was Jackson John, maybe, that there are, for a lot of men, it doesn't take much more than, man, she's cute, I hit that.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that, and I don't know, maybe there's a lot of primal instinct involved in that. Even though integrity still comes in because, you did make a commitment, but just on a primal level, I think men are quicker to say, hey, you know what? She's cute. And I don't really need anything more than that as a man. And then, we'll go. Whereas women, you typically, maybe you at least got to make her laugh a little bit. Your personality has to be that. A man don't even have to like you and he'll still smash.
Yeah. Okay. So women probably not gonna smash a dude that she don't like unless she trying to. Because you said what?
So yeah, unless there's some advantage like financial or something.
Yeah. But it's possible because she can still do it. So it's not if she is like, okay, well, he gonna do something for me, I'm gonna do something for him, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's possible. You can't have a prostitute without knowing that that's possible. Right. There's a certain mindset that has to be taking place in her mind that I'm going to get what I need to get by any means necessary. And if that means emotional support, if that means some financial support, if that just means me getting back at him in my mind, this is the thing that women don't get, though. We only able to do that for so long. Mm-hmm. We can't maintain that. What happens is if a woman tries to maintain the I'm just going to get mine, it takes her out of who she is and she shifts. It is something that happens in her mind, in her being that takes her out of who she is. She can't maintain that long.
Mm. Scientists, or maybe it's biologists, which is still scientists, they say that every sexual partner that a woman has, she keeps his DNA in her for life. And so there's a piece of every man that she's ever been with, which could lead to some of the different emotional, mental, psychological, maybe even confusing things that take place in her mind because of the multiple partners. I don't know that the same thing is true or as impactful with men, but it is an exchange that takes place. The woman is not the only one that's giving and receiving energy here. So I think that even with men, every female that you encounter is a part of your psychological experience. And I don't know that we ever look, they say the subconscious mind never forgets. And so if you have 100 partners, even though there's this idea that men have a higher propensity to smash and dash, still stored in your data bank is that experience, and it contributes to the ultimate being that you show up as today, which could make it more difficult for you to bond or create a harmonious relationship down the line with somebody else.
Check this one out.
All right.
What men do not understand is the more they smash and dash, the less likely they will be confident. It pulls at the confidence, right? It's kind of like a high. So, most people that ever had any type of high, the first time you get high, you like, what was that? Right? And the next time you get high, you're like, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. It ain't hit me the same way. It's the same thing. You get with a woman who you've been smashing and dashing all this time, and you can hit it, and you like, I'm the man. One woman come into your life, and she's sitting there like, when we gonna get to the good part? Good part. Your mind is going to be, what happened? So I mean, like, it wasn't good. You're gonna go into this thing trying to redeem yourself. And she may be that type of person to be like, nope, I won this game. You don't get to play again.
Wow.
It will mess you up. So it's best that for the men who out here smashing and dashing, don't do that, because you will run across your match. She'll come and she'll take you out.
I will say that at least to some degree, I don't know. I will say that the fewer partners, in my mind, the fewer partners a man has in his life, the better. Now, there is this encouraging going on that, men should sow their wild oats, right? But I think that, again, the fewer the partners you have in your lifetime, the better, because the more, ideally, if a man can get all of his sexual experiences with one woman, then he has nothing to compare that to.
Right.
And all he knows is that one source. And I don't know. I kind of think that the more partners you add to that, the more I don't know what's the word I want to say is I think the more confusing it becomes, because you have all these different references, and she don't do it quite like that girl did. And I don't know. I can't help but to think it takes away from what we're ultimately capable of experiencing. And again, the mind is capable of doing all kinds of things, but I don't think more is better, even for men.
I don't either.
I wanted to read that. Go ahead.
You about to say something about that comment?
Yeah, what was it? Oh, yeah. John said, no, women are way more forgiving than men by a long shot. And then Kimberly, right behind that, she says, men don't truly forgive because they can't get away from their ego that reminds them that their woman has been touched by another man. I won't say that we're not capable of forgiving, but I think for that reason, it might be more challenging for men to forgive. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, you mentioned that one of your exes cheated on you before. How much did that mess with your ego?
You know what? The thing about it is, I think that what people don't get is that women, like you just said, women have egos too. Let me tell you how this is for a fact that the woman ego is messed up. The first thing she gonna ask you is, who is she and what does she look like?
Hmm.
And okay, and so do you love her? Those are all ego questions. These are not questions that are caring, because if the only thing that she cared about was her emotions, she's gonna say, well, how many times did you do it? Did you fall in love with her? Those are the things that she would ask you. But most times she asking what she look like, who is she? And
You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and so our ego is involved too. So to answer your question directly, was my ego bruised? I didn't care what they looked like, because I thought I was a dime, right? But like, you messed, I mean, now, right. But my thought process was, we having sex frequently. In my mind, I couldn't understand what was the problem, because we didn't have a problem with sex. That was not one of our issues. Our issues that I didn't know at that time was my mouth. Our issues were that I wasn't treating him like the man that he needed to be. I had a mouth on me that was saying things I shouldn't have been saying. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that I took his penis and put it inside somebody else's vagina. Not saying that at all. What I'm simply saying is there were some things that led to that. There were some things that I was not doing. Him buying lingerie, and I wasn't wearing it. But if he buying lingerie and I refuse to wear it because I'm just going, oh no, I'm not doing this because whatever, it's going to leave that door open. So I didn't have that ego situation. Yeah. All I wanted to do and have ever been in every relationship that I've been in, I just want to be loved, and that's the only part that. So what part of my heart didn't I give you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that. Look, everybody, we talk about basic needs, right? And security is one of our basic human needs. And I think that you threaten when you get caught cheating, it undermines the level of security that a person feels they have in the relationship. So that question of, the woman might ask, is she prettier than me? Did you love her? The man might ask, is he bigger than me? Did he make you scream harder than I? Did he make you, you know what I mean? Did he do it better than I did? These are threatening questions that undermine the level of security that we feel we have. And ultimately, I think that ends up being as big a reason whether or not we're able to handle that part is probably more of what lends to the undoing of the relationship than the actual act itself.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Danielle said, do women forgive more, or is it because men don't know that she has cheated? I think it happens to be that.
Y'all sneaky.
Because it's the thing here. I mean, again, and I've heard plenty women say, you did it, so can I.
Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you, I as time goes on, as time moves forward, and women become more able to fend for themselves. Because look, there were things that women put up with 50 years ago because they had no other option. They couldn't go out and look, not too long ago, women couldn't even get a bank account without a man's signature. Mm-hmm. So she needed you more so than she might have even wanted you. So that created a scenario where she might have been afraid to cheat because her livelihood literally depended on her maintaining some level of mystique, purity, in the man's eyes. Whereas now it's much more about the relationship. Like, if you aren't able to maintain a healthy way of relating, that alone can undermine the relationship because she doesn't need you in that way anymore.
Right.
So, and now I think a lot of men are having a hard time adjusting to that.
Yeah.
Why can't you be like my grandmama was? Well, that's because I don't need you in the way that my grandmama needed my granddaddy.
Come on now. Listen, here we are. Speaking of what Coach Vaun just said, there's a whole movement called Black Women Living Luxury Lives. And they are saying, stop talking about what my grandmama did. Stop talking about we chose welfare over you. Stop talking about all these things that happened back in the 60s, because we've created our own narrative. We're living by our own narrative, and you can't measure us up against that because we don't do that. Right. And so you got the same with the MGTOW, the men going their own way. All of these different narratives that happened back in the day, a lot of these younger people, millennials, and even some that are in their 40s are not living by that. They just want to know, are you respecting me? Are you treating me kind? Are you doing right by me? Are you being loyal? Are you doing those types of things? You being honest with me? If you're not doing that, I don't want no parts of it. I'll go live my life and do me.
Yeah.
You know, so the whole cheating and not recognizing that you have a responsibility in your relationship being whole and harmonious, both parties have 100% responsibility.
Yeah.
And when you're not taking that, you are letting down your partner.
Now, to your point, you know, again, 75 years ago, a woman who was single at 65 years old, you know, or even 50 years old, her very existence was threatened because she couldn't go out there and get it for herself, or it was very difficult for her to do that. And nowadays it's not like that, right? So this idea, so there's this narrative right now that's being pushed, well, you'll die alone, right? That's being pushed as if women today are who their grandmothers were. Right. Our grandmothers were afraid of being alone in the final 25 years, 30 years, even 50 years of their lives because of how hard it was just to maintain a healthy way of living, just to maintain a comfortable life. Now, though, I think to the point that you just made, women living luxury lives, that bag has, a lot of women see that as a substitute for the man. And I think it gets confused because the I don't need a man phenomenon, you know, well, yeah, you don't need a man in the same way that your grandmother did, but at the same time, we are not meant to be alone, right? And so that bag cannot be a healthy substitute for what a man is supposed to offer. And as quiet as it's kept, there are a lot of men who aren't comfortable with the idea of reaching their 50s and 60s alone either.
Right.
We make it seem like men are so much harder than women, but I'm telling y'all, look, I coach men and I coach women, but my focus is on men. And I'm telling you, the conversations that men have when it's just a one-on-one conversation, when you can get a brother that's willing to be transparent about what he's experiencing, what he's feeling about being alone, it's not very different from, in some ways it's different, but I'm saying at the end of the day, men don't want to be alone any more than women do. And at some point, just going from partner to partner sexually, it's not the move. It's not the business. Right.
It's not. And so Yarly Sensei, Yarly says, I believe that saying of sowing his wild oats is taught to men when the life expectancy was 45, and there was a belief that a young man needed to know the feeling of women before he dies.
Yeah. And back then, you're talking about where, again, women had fewer options. And so she was more inspired 50 years ago to be a wife than she is now. Again, for the reasons that I already mentioned, if for nothing else, financial security, right? And so it was easier for a man to play in the field for a much longer period of time. He could spend all of his 20s, 30s, and even his 40s and still be like, all right, I'm done now. Let me go find me a wife. Because it's that easy, because there are a whole lot of women out here that are excited to be or inspired to be a wife. And nowadays, it's not quite like that. And I say the longer you wait, even men, the more you jeopardize your chances at finding a healthy, harmonious relationship with a woman. I encourage men to get serious much earlier than they had 2 years ago. And even, I mean, if you look back at it, you go back 75 years, men were serious earlier about getting a wife even then.
Yeah, because a lot of these men now that are in my age group, many of them don't even have children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they've chosen to do all these things. And now they're in their 50s talking about that they're looking for their rib. Dude, you should have been looking for your rib 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. And so women are looking early on because, you know, typically that's what they play with the dolls, you know, the whole thing, right? But now we got the women who are like, hey, I can do without. The problem that we're having with that is that people are not coming together, unifying and creating babies, which is creating generations, which is spilling over and being fruitful and multiplying. And so it's kind of like, you know, I know that, you know, Coach Vaun and I we do this show and we talk about different things every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We thank you all for coming. But we also think that some of the knowledge that much of the knowledge that we share, we need y'all to share. Whether y'all want to share, we prefer y'all to share our show, you know, click the link, share the link. But if all you're doing is sharing the information with 1 or 2 or 3 other people, the information that you've set for hour and a half listen to is very much worth you passing on to somebody else, because this information needs to be spread. Doesn't matter how.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. And, you know, it's amazing to me that one of the most basic elements of what it means to be human, which is the male-female relationship, right? One of the most basic elements of what it means to be human seems to be one of the things that we're having the most difficult time doing.
Yeah.
And I think society has been manipulated in such a way that that lends to that. It's not meant to be that difficult, but here we are. And we're finding all kinds of reasons. You know, he's not tall enough. He don't make enough money. She ain't fine enough, or she's not. Now the newest thing is she's not feminine enough. And you know, I don't know. That's for a different show. But I don't know that women operate in their masculine as much as they surrender their softness. So maybe in my mind, she's not. Of course, there are some women that are over the top. You know, she's got the ball. You know, maybe she goes out of her way to act like a man. I'm not talking about that woman. I'm talking about the woman who might be a little loud or who might be a little less graceful. I don't know that she's operating in her masculine as much as she's just surrendering some of that softness and some of that femininity. I don't know. What do you think about that? I
think that she does what she needs to do to survive.
Yeah.
And that being survival as in being a single mother, that being survival as in I've been hurt so many times, that being survival as in, you know, I've been abused when I was growing up, whatever the case may be, her masculine energy rises up because she is doing it out of survival. But let me tell you this, I put this on a post on my TikTok. When a real man stands up in his masculinity, she stands down. Okay, she gonna be like, stand down, soldier. She down because she is in the room with that energy. It will match. She's not, unless she is a woman that is just downright disrespectful, and she gonna be that way because she just set in her ways and she's bitter and she just with this man because she just want to get him back. Most women that are alpha females get into a room with a man who is more masculine than her, let him stand up. She's standing down.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to. It's just gonna make her. There's this TikTok going around. It's kind of old now, but when they had the roar, the lions roar,
yeah.
And then the wind blows her hair, and she goes.
Yeah.
Because she like, I got a roar, but it ain't as big as yours. And I don't even want it to be.
Yeah.
Most women, like, they consider me an alpha female. I don't do that, but I'm just so that you can understand. I don't want no man. I don't want to come in and control my man. I want to be like, baby, what? We want to be coy. We want to be feminine. We want that. But we need the man to stand up that's in our life to do that and come in and be like, no, we're not doing that today. Okay. Well, let me
Now,
go
you know,
over here.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that like this world has given particularly Black women, like there's no woman on this planet who the advertisement is marketed at her that she's naturally not good enough, right? Like the Black woman is the one who all of this advertising, from the time you are first able to turn on the TV, the message to you is that you are naturally not good enough. You got to get your hair fixed, right? Got to get your hair done. Then of course you got the color scale too, if you dark and all of that stuff, right? And so I think that these things tend to build walls. You know, the response to that is to build these walls of protection around her feelings, right? And I think that these walls tend to make it difficult for not only for the man to reach her and connect with her on that level, but it makes it harder for her to surrender that area of softness in her that says, you know, that allows her to be that purring kitten, right? And so one of the things that I think that we tend to undermine the relationship is when we compromise her ability to trust us, right? Because because of the psychological beating that she has taken since she was 5 years old, from the first time she was able to see TV, right? And the fact that she's not even comfortable wearing her natural hair out in public in many regards. And so she looks to you hoping that she's found that place of security. And then when we go out and let's say maybe we cheat, or maybe we make comments that, you know, tend to strike a nerve in ways that, you know, we're not even aware of how deeply psychological the impact of society has been. So we make a comment about maybe her skin color, even if we play it. Sometimes we might say, oh, your Black self, you know, a man might even be playing when he says something about her chocolate skin, but he didn't realize that ever since she was 5 years old, she's been talked about, you know, don't go out in the sun. You can't afford to get no darker. So that we tend to undermine, without even knowing, unwittingly undermine that security that she's looking for, which makes it harder for her to show up as that purring kitten that we're looking for.
Yeah. Which is why she goes and asks you, what does she look like? What does she look like? And then it adds to that insecurity that she has when she finds out that that person she could not even be attractive. But if she has been attacked, like Coach Vaun says, about she's too dark, or her hair was too short or too kinky, and she found out that you were a light-skinned chick with long hair,
oh man,
you done messed up her mind some more, because it's going to add to that insecurity.
Yeah.
And so there is a responsibility that you have with your partner to make sure that once you find out what these insecurities are, that you don't add to those things. You do not add to them. You try to nip away at them one by one with how you treat them. And that's with, you know, you doing things like being faithful. So look, let's go into this. So there's one thing that they talk about, I deserve it, where they feel like they work too hard, where their needs are going unmet, and they feel like all they do is sacrifice for others. So they having an affair to satisfy some of those unmet desires because they deserve it. What's your thoughts on that?
Man, you know, deserve it. Wow. And you know, every relationship is different and everybody has their different agreements. This is where some of these couples they give each other hall passes, right? You can go for the weekend and you can play, or some couples agree to open the relationship up, you know, to maybe a menage or whatever ways that they might sexually open up the relationship. I think it comes down to the agreement. You know what I mean? Like in my marriage, you know, it's like a picture frame, right? Ain't nobody else coming in and we ain't getting out.
Right.
Right. And so we do the best that we can with this understanding. That's not something that you can take for granted. It's not, I can't afford to rest on my laurels and say, well, hey, we got an agreement. You ain't going nowhere. Ain't nobody coming in, ain't nobody going out. No, with that understanding, I have to work just that much harder to make sure that I bring as much as I can to the table, and vice versa. We do, you know, she does the same. So that's our agreement. But, you know, there are a lot of couples out here, man, where pleasure is the God in their relationship. And so when you open your relationship up like that, hey, be prepared that somebody might come in and pleasure your mate better than you did. And maybe their attachment now becomes that person. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that is a dangerous thing to do, that when you open up that portal, and see, that portal can be opened up in just conversations. See, we have to understand the spirit world is more real than what we're looking at today. We looking at each other, and we're on this video, and we're on the TV screen, your phone screen, whatever y'all looking at us right now. But the spirit world is deeper than what you're looking at. So when you have conversations, like I remember in the beginning of one of my marriages where we would be looking at, he'll look at somebody, be like, dang, I'd be like, she got a fat butt, don't she? You know, we were having these conversations, and unbeknownst to me, I'm letting this door just open and creep on in. And you know, or even I remember having a conversation on my wedding night. You want to have a threesome? Sure.
Wow.
Didn't understand these doors that were being opened.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have to pay attention to what we say to our partner, what we allow to be said to us about our partner, what we're allowed to be said to us about our marriages or our relationships. Don't let people say things jokingly. That's no, bro. Don't say that about my wife. No, sis. Don't talk about my husband like that. No, I don't care if it was a joke. Do not do it, because you're opening doors. Because what's the saying? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's a saying, something about if you disagreement is agreement, or not disagreeing is agreement, something like that. When somebody doesn't, you never heard that? No,
I'm not familiar with that one. Sorry. I'm not trying to cut you. I'm just saying.
Look. Listen. You know how when somebody says that when you are a bystander and you're standing there watching the monstrosity happen, you're not doing anything about it, but you're not agreeing or disagreeing. You're just watching it go down.
Yeah.
You're agreeing with it because you're just allowing it to just. You're not taking a stance.
So silence is complicity.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Is complicity a word? Silence is compliance. How about I say it that way?
Okay, we can go with that. Yeah. You have to know that if you're not disagreeing with it, you are agreeing with it. You have to take a stance.
Ain't no neutral.
No.
You're either for it or you're against it.
Exactly.
And I've never been a fan of dudes making comments about my wife. Like, and I don't even make comments about people's wives. I might compliment the family, like, man, you have a beautiful family. But I don't be like, damn, your wife fine. I don't do that. And you ain't gonna do that with me. Like, you might once, and I'm gonna correct you. And if I have to keep correcting you, I'm not gonna keep correcting you. Like, we don't really have nothing to talk about.
I had that situation. I didn't cheat on my husband, but that opened up a thing. I remember the first time I was beautiful was by my ex's friend who he worked with. And so he was like, that's not the first time. Yeah. A woman remembers when somebody calls her beautiful. Because sexy, oh, you fine, oh, you hot. We always get that. But when a man looks at a woman and says, oh my God, you are beautiful.
Wow.
That like permeates her soul. I remember that day. And so what that did was it opened up something in me that was like, I'm missing some things. Now I didn't go cheating because of it, but I started complaining more because I was like, man, how you gonna let your boy call me beautiful when you never did?
Right. Hey, they say people might forget what you said, people might forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Nope.
And that man made you feel a way that your husband should have made you feel long before that. But you know, and we that's a whole nother conversation too, because a lot of men don't know that they're supposed to adorn their wives and honor their wives with those types of compliments.
And I'm saying that to say that opened the door for me now to be mouthy. For me now to complain that you ain't doing, you ain't, and he's over here going, but why you keep talking about what I ain't? And let me just go find somebody who says that I am. So these things, they're like this spinning thing that happens. I always talk about when you swing a stick or you swing a string and you got it around a whole bunch of debris, the more you swing it, the more debris coming up in there. Yeah. So we have to understand that there are so many things, but this is what coaching does, right? Coaching helps you get down to the nitty-gritty of the real issue. It helps you figure that out and go, okay, so now I know why I'm here. Let me move forward and show you how to do this in a different or more productive way. Yeah. Because you got to find out what that is. Why is it that your wife is complaining to you about the same thing over and over and over and over again? When you feel like it, like man, we should just shut up. Or your husband doing the same thing, because men complain about things too. They just may not do it as often. But if he says something to you more than twice about something, and you still haven't done anything about it, he's gonna shut down on you.
Now, you know, you made a great point. You talked about coaching. One thing that we haven't touched on yet is how to save marriages after infidelity has taken place, after cheating has taken place. And there are definitely look, it does matter who you cheated with, and it does matter how it's been done. So if you cheat with a family member or a real close friend, it's going to hit very different than if you cheat with somebody that they don't know. Right. And then how you get down is going to greatly impact the way that it hits too. So if it's something that you slipped up, and you're like, damn, I can't believe I did that. And then you trying to move on from it versus you doing something on an ongoing basis, like every weekend, y'all meeting and you doing whatever you're doing, that's going to hit very different than the one and done type of scenario where you, oh man, I can't believe I let myself get in that position. I'm not going to do that again. So can the relationship be saved? Can it be? Is there anything remaining that is salvageable in the relationship? And I think that those are things that we have to begin looking at too, because I don't think that just because somebody cheats that it's necessarily the end of the line for the relationship. What do you think?
I don't either. I think that a willing couple can get through anything, but both parties have to be willing. You know, you got some people in the church who be like, girl, just pray, honey. He gonna come around. If he's not willing, if he has not broken his will to do it and to be, you know what, I'm going cold turkey. I ain't doing that no more. I'm sorry, I've done that. And if he hasn't even come to him or her, let me not say just he, if they have not come to you in such a manner where it's humbled them to where they have been broken in that situation and they are so hurt that they hurt you, that's a sign. Yeah. They gonna do it again. Yeah. Okay. If it's kind of like, I'm sorry, man, I mean, get over it. They gonna do it again. But if it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I hurt you like this. I just, oh my God, we need to do something. I'm so sorry. I mean, like, there's some people that can fake that now. Don't get me wrong, but you need to know who your man or your woman is. Yeah. Okay. But I think, to answer your question, Coach Vaun, I think that any couple that's willing can get through infidelity. You can work that out, but you got to be willing to go through the things. And can I tell, were you going to ask another question? Because I was going to say what they need to be willing to do. Yeah, go ahead. You, as far as the person that has been the infidel, you got to be willing to understand, one, that it's not over when you say it's over. It's over when the other party who's been hurt says that they have now gotten to the place. Now, caveat to that, person that has been hurt, you don't get to keep it going forever. You have to put a timeline on it. And people say, well, you can't put a timeline on your heart's hurt. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. You can make a decision on how long you're going to allow it to hurt. Now you got to go some processes, right? And that decision and that process, I mean, you got to get some help, get some coaching, get somebody to help walk you guys through that. But you cannot 2 years, 3 years be talking about the same thing over and over again. Because I tell my clients all the time, if you're sitting in front of me after the breach, you forgave them. You just don't know how to walk in the forgiveness.
Yeah. And there are things that the infidel, as you like to call them, the person who committed the offense, there are things that they have to do, or if I'm speaking to somebody who's done it, you as the person who committed the offense, there are things that you have to do to lay the foundation for them to help them heal, to help them recover. If you still making moves that are suspicious, you know what I mean? You're making it hard for them. And so there's a couple that I'm counseling right now, and he cheated, and she hasn't recovered yet. And he wants her to hurry up and get over it because he's not doing it anymore. Right? Come on now. Look, that was 2 years ago, and here we are. I'm not doing it anymore. You get to choose the offense, but you don't get to choose the timeline for their recovery.
Right.
Right. So again, now the person who got hurt, to the point that Coach Michela just made, it's an active process. The healing part, that's an active process. You can't be casual about the healing and the recovery. Right. But as the person who committed the offense, you don't get to determine how long is long enough, how long has been long enough. Because again, I just told you, people have deep psychological imprints from when they were very, very young. Who knows what they've been through? And that infidelity the pain of infidelity has been compared to the death of a child. Mm-hmm. Some people, if you cheat on the wrong somebody or the right somebody, however you want to frame that, depending on who you cheat on, based on the amount of pain that they've been through, that could be the greatest pain that they've ever experienced in their life. You don't get to then turn around and say, come on now, get over it.
Right.
No, you have to have look, if you're serious about it, you have to show up with a contrite spirit and help them in that recovery. You got to move different.
You come on, there you go right there. You need to expound on the moving of the difference.
Yeah, you got to move different. So, if you said you're going to be home by 3, you don't have the luxury of showing up at 4:30 with no explanation, you didn't call, you didn't text, you just showed up a whole hour and a half later, or they've been trying to call you for over an hour and they can't reach you. Even if your battery might have died, right? You might have a legitimate reason for being unavailable, but man, you just sowed some seeds that, that's causing a whole lot of pain 5 months ago. And now here it is, they can't find you. You don't know what you're doing to that person's mind. So you got to go that extra mile and maybe carry a portable charger. Make sure your battery doesn't die on you. And if you're going to make a detour after work, hey, baby, I'm stopping by the so-and-so. You need anything? Like, you got to move different. You don't have the same luxury that you had before the offense occurred, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't get to say, oh, no, I'm not showing you my phone.
Right.
I'm not giving you my passwords. No, I'm not telling you where I'm going. You don't get to say that. Not if you want the relationship. Now, if you want out the relationship, then walk out. But you, like Coach Vaun says, if you are the person who was infidel and you now want to get back in good graces with your partner, your mate, then you gotta eat some crow. Mm. You got to go through some stuff. You got to do the time. It's like any other punishment, because you punish them, as Coach Vaun has said, about the whole, you don't know the psychological things that they have now, that you have now attached them to. Because of that, you gotta do some things and make them trust. You got to rebuild the trust. Trust can be rebuilt, but it takes some hard things. I had a couple who we just talked about the infidelity in their relationship, and I said to them in their consultation, I want you to be aware that one, I'm not the coach, I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to pussyfoot with you around this. And two, you have to be willing to do what it takes to make sure that your partner is now secure. And let me tell you what that means. That means you're gonna have to relinquish some of your adulthood. That means you're gonna have to relinquish some of the power you think you got over yourself.
Mm.
And if you're not willing to do that, then let me know in the door, because I'm going to ask you to do some things that's going to be uncomfortable in order to make sure that this partner feels safe.
Yeah. Yeah. How much do you value the relationship is what it comes down to.
Really?
Yeah.
How much you willing to put in?
Mm.
You willing to take all your chips and move them to the front? If you're not willing to take all your chips and put them on the table and move them to the front, so that when you get ready to roll that dice, you rolling what you need to roll.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do that, get out of the situation, because you are every time you go missing 1 minute, you're making that person remunerate everything that has happened.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be their, that's not going to be their fault, because they're going to see, I know I shouldn't have let you back. I know I shouldn't have took you back. And all of that stuff is going to come rushing back in their head, and you're going to have to relive everything you went through that you thought that you fixed.
Yeah. You're better off erring on the side of caution and maybe sending them too many text messages, maybe checking in more than you think you should, just to make sure, because now it's all about it's as much about establishing a new level of comfort for them as much as anything else. And one of the things that I recommend is that, number one, you get coaching together, right? You need coaching together, because this is a thing that you're going to have to grow through. You're not just going through something, you have to grow through this, because if you don't grow through this, then your relationship will die through this.
Yeah.
Right? But also, the person who has been cheated on, oftentimes they need separate counseling sessions, because there's some individual healing that has to take place that it's harder to do in a one-on-one. They need individual attention based on the pain that they went through. Many times those deep psychological implications, different things that they've been impacted by, they don't always want to reveal that in the couple session, because you remove their desire, or their willingness, I should say, to be vulnerable now, because they don't trust you anymore. So now they're not comfortable being vulnerable with the person that they really need to be vulnerable with. So oftentimes they need to be individually coached. But here's another part of it too, that a lot of people overlook. When you really care about somebody, right? The person that did the cheating, it's not that they cheated because they don't care. Oftentimes they really do care, and they want the best. They want a healthy outcome for you, right? So what often gets overlooked is that the person that did the cheating is also in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person that got cheated on will manipulate accordingly. So now they know that they got you on the ropes, and they keep jabbing and jabbing. You did this to me. You did this to me. And you know that they know that they're hurting the person, right? And this is why it's important for them to get that healing too. But also, even those who don't mean to necessarily do that, you have to be aware that there's more pain going on in that relationship than what you're experiencing alone. So there's some, even though again they're the one that committed the offense, you know, a person who really cares about you is genuinely sorrowful for what they did, and there has to be some understanding for that too.
It has to be, and this is the thing, and I've experienced this with that same person. It got to the place where he had cheated so often that when he wasn't, he was, oh yeah, you cheating. Oh, yeah. I know you doing something. And he like, but I ain't doing nothing. I'm like, no, yeah, you are. You know, and so you get to the place where you're not giving that person the benefit of the doubt, you know. But if this is a thing, do not forgive just on the pretense of, I forgive you right now. If you're going to forgive, Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. I just talked about this on one of my TikToks. Forgiveness does not negate the desire nor the ability or the want for justification or justice for what they've done. And it doesn't give them permission to do it again or give them permission for what they've done. But you have to get to the place where you have decided that, hey, we're going to walk through this. Sometimes I might remunerate some things, but I'm going to need you, person who has gone through this, to help me. But like Coach Vaun said, you also have to help that person too, because they're embarrassed. They're feeling guilty. They feel like, I can't believe I did this. I let my family down. You know, who else knows about this? Because now other people might be looking at me like I'm crazy. So all of those things have to be looked at. And if you don't have somebody, a third party that has no investment in your relationship, you know what I'm saying? That where there's going to be bias on one way or another, where they can't give you some unbiased information and what to do and how to do it, you're going to keep having this problem because somebody's not going to, they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up. They go, as soon as that remuneration hits the fan, somebody else going to say something else. And this is why you do it. You always do this and that. And you just make me sick. And you know, you always think I'm doing something because you always are. You know, just different things like that. So you've got to get some help, and you got to know that you can't do that by yourself sometimes, many times.
There's an African proverb that says, once you forgive, you must not reheat their sins for breakfast.
That's good.
Right. And all that means essentially is that, you know, like we say, stop bringing up old stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and it doesn't mean that, you know, it goes away. It doesn't mean that you can't talk about it, but don't keep jabbing them with the issue. Like, I mean, particularly if you know that they're trying, they're doing their best to be on the straight and narrow.
Right.
You know, just because you're in a funky place doesn't mean that you have to bring the mood of the whole relationship down. Right. Here's the other part to the point that you just made. I always forget the name of this law, but essentially what it says is that, so molecules, I'm gonna get a little nerdy on y'all. Y'all know I'm a nerd anyway, right? Molecules behave differently under observation, right? So if you look at a molecule under a microscope, it's behaving differently than when you look away. Right? It's almost as if it knows it's being observed.
Wow.
So the point is, what the thinker thinks, the prover will prove.
Yeah.
Right. So to the point that you just made, I ain't even cheating. Yes, you are. I know you're still cheating. Right. So they're cheating, even if they're not cheating, because you're so committed to the idea that they're cheating that you're looking for it. And if you're looking for it, what the thinker thinks, the prover will prove, even if they're not doing anything. So this speaks to the importance of, as the victim, getting that healing that you need so that you can restore what they call homeostasis, right? Get back to that level of being healthy minded so that you can proceed in the relationship. Because otherwise, 10 years down the line, if you never heal, right, you'll keep on reheating their sins for breakfast.
Yeah. Just the same thing like when they say what you look for, you find. Same thing. I want to talk about that, so leave that one up. Yeah. This is the thing. 85 to 90% of what you think goes to your perspective. Okay. So if you think that your spouse or your partner is cheating and you find a message or you overhear something, your hearing, your senses, your eyes are going to draw you into that thing that's going to make it look suspicious. But if you step back, you wipe your eyes, clear your mind, you go back and look at that thing again, it's going to look and read something totally different.
Yep.
You ever read a text message, brother, and you took it, as soon as you read it, you're like, wait, what was that? And then you went back to the text message and didn't say nothing what you thought it said.
Right.
And that's because you may be in a hurry, whatever the case may be that made you think something, and then you go back and reread it, you're going to get a whole nother view. It depends on where your mindset is, where you are at that present time, what you're thinking about, where you are, because that's why they tell you do things like make sure that when you go to your partner about anything negative, that you've stepped back from it. You thought about it. Stop. I always tell my clients, be a star. When your emotions are up, be a star. Stop, think, assess, respond, not react. When you stop, step back, think about what happened, assess the situation, then respond, because respond is logical, reacting is emotional to what has happened. You're going to see it in a totally different way. Yeah. You know, I like how you said earlier about, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, come on, man. You was about to give me some accolades. You know, I love compliments.
It was good too. I can't, it'll come back to me. But I was looking at James. Also, in order to get back into good graces with your spouse, you would definitely have to examine and change the influences around you to ensure the temptation doesn't resurface. Who breathe? It's the same thing. You can't be a former crackhead and then still hang out the crack house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't be cooking it with the same people that was helping you eat.
Yep. I don't even have friends that cheat on their wives. Not that I know of. I mean, if they do it, then, you know, whatever, but I don't hang out with people that get down like that. I don't want that energy around me, really. I mean, I'm really doing my best to maintain something that feels good, that's holistic, that's healthy with my wife. So I don't kick it with people that's, you know, that play in the mud, man, because I don't want to get dirty.
Please speak to that, because this is the thing. You know, everybody know how fine me and Vaun are, right? Everybody know that, right? but the thing, the reality of it is, this brother, his wife is a beautiful woman. He is a handsome man. You cannot think that these people are not being hit on at some point in time over 31 years. Somebody that came to them and was like, man, you looking good. Somebody did that. But if you are around other people, other energies that are lending to that, then it will tempt the temptation to get a little bit hotter, which is why you cannot sit back. And if your boy or your girl is bringing around a second party and you know that ain't the main person, that you just gonna sit there and turn the eye. No, you can't do that. You have got to be like,
yeah,
why is that person in my house and where's your wife? And if you don't do that, you are adding to the problem and you're making them both think that that's okay. Hey, you gotta say no, can't do it. I'm here. Open the door. That ain't your wife. Y'all can't come in. Close the door.
Friends don't let friends drive drunk, right?
Exactly.
So as part of, if I'm really your friend, you know what I mean, then there's going to be an effort on my part to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can't make you do anything. And I'm not necessarily even coming from a judgmental standpoint when I approach you about the situation, or when I dismiss you from my circle. It's not necessarily a judgment. Look, you are where you are. And you know, that's on you. I'm just saying you can't bring that around me.
Right.
Look, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Right. This is the law of averages. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. What am I saying? I'm saying I don't have the luxury of bringing my numbers down. Right. Life is hard enough without kicking yourself in the nuts. Right? So I don't want people around me that's bringing down my average, or that's increasing my odds of doing something that doesn't benefit me. Right.
Yeah.
That mean that I think you're a horrible person? Nah, that just means you got some things that you got to grow through. And I don't want to be around that if I can help it.
Right. Now, Yarley says this is why social media has wrecked shop in relationships, because now women have literally thousands upon thousands of avenues to gain validation from men. I need to point out that so do men. Go over to TikTok and you have dudes that's like, nothing said, but they just in the video with shirts off.
Yeah.
For what? you think that women ain't sliding up in they little comment section going, do that again with a blue shirt on, do that again with your leg up, do that again. These things are happening. So it is not just women or men. Social media, you are absolutely right, Yarly, has wrecked shop in relationships, period, across the board, familial and romantic relationships across the board, because it has created these dynamics and these visuals in our minds that has created these unrealistic expectations of who we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Again, I know Yarly is coming from I understand where he's coming from.
I get it
in that, but I do want to reiterate that men and women are not as different as people like to think, as people like to promote. And it's not only providing an avenue for women to do more wrong and to get validation. As quiet as it's kept, men are looking for validation too. Right. And men are sending all kinds. Look, women ain't getting these inboxes, these pics, what we call them, D pics in their inboxes from women. They getting flooded by dudes. Men are looking for just as much validation, and men are ruining their relationships by putting these little sneaky comments on females' posts. Yeah, you know what I mean? Loving all her pictures. I ain't say nothing. I just love the picture. Men are ruining their relationships just as much, if not more, easily as much as women are. So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we need to talk about that. We need to talk about the fault that it is of the person who is cheating, because they are in situations where they are actively liking people's posts, or like, why in the world? Like, if I get a friend request from a married man and I see his thing say married, but I'm friends with his wife, I go right into his thing to see who his wife is. And if we not friends, then he doesn't get on my page. He does not get to be added as my friend. If he is added, his wife is already my friend, because I feel like that is me being my sister's keeper, to make sure that he ain't in there looking and flipping up my whole thing, liking all my posts. That's ridiculous. No person should be doing that. Man or woman should be on somebody's page and they're married, liking up stuff, because that's opening the door for the temptation that we've been talking about the whole time. Because temptation is one of the things that they say that has caused a lot of cheating. They say 67% of all cheaters who use another social media account to cheat, they say that there are 67% of all cheaters have used another social media account to cheat with, and they did it through Facebook.
Yeah.
They've had multiple Facebook accounts.
Do you know how many people in relationships don't even have their significant other as a friend on their social media? Like, that blows my mind.
That does me too.
Like, I've seen people that are so cool with their social media, or I should say so transparent, that they actually share social media accounts, husband and wife on one account. And, there are people who have their opinions about what that is. Oh, they must have done some wrong with. I'm not here to speculate. That level of transparency, I think that's kind of fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. So, but there are people who won't even accept their significant other as a friend on Facebook. That's. What do you think about that?
I went through that. I had that point, and it had got to the point where I had decided not to be his friend, because I didn't want to keep seeing the disrespect. I didn't want to see the women constantly talking about how fine he was, or let me rub on that bald head. And I didn't want to see that myself. So I refused to be his friend. Or there's also situations that come up where the wife or the husband is constantly going to the partners or the spouse's social media looking for stuff. So then the partner going, no, we ain't going to be friends because you're looking to pick fights with me.
Yep. Actually, my daughter did it before I did. There was a woman on my thread one day. I put a picture up, and she made some comments that kind of crossed the line, and my daughter came in, that young generation, boy, they want all the smoke, you know what I mean? And she came in and she said some things before I even did. Mm-hmm. And so I removed the comment and I told the lady, hey, look, you can't do that. That disrespects my wife, blah, blah, blah. And because I think some people have a different idea about what's appropriate versus inappropriate. So I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. And her response was, oh, your wife's so insecure that she came up. Okay, I got to block you.
Blocked.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going back and forth with you about none of that. Look, either you're going to come to my page in a way that we deem suitable or you got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And this goes to what Brother James was saying. Question: why are so many men chasing validation from another woman, and at the same time you're calling yourself a man, especially when you're married to someone who validates you daily?
See, now what that is, that speaks to the void that's in some people, and so these are things that people are looking to fill externally, when the only reservoir is an internal one. Right. The only person that can fill those voids is you. But again, we're taught to look outside of ourselves for all of our answers. And so I'm going to measure my level of manhood by how many notches I can put on my bedpost, how many women I can knock down. Right. And women are doing it, by their own metrics. But I know a lot of men, as a young man, we look for validation through how many women we can get. And how many women are going to tell me how good I look or how good I am in bed, et cetera, et cetera. So these are things that are more indicative of a need for healing than anything else, because the truest validation comes from within, not outside.
Yeah, and that's what Yarley just says. Most of those men chase validation from women because it's easier than building themselves as a man. It really is. And I think that it's easier for men and women to build themselves because they don't know how, which is why, because we've been on for an hour and 47 minutes. And this is how you do that. What you do is you find people such as Coach Vaun and Coach Michelamonè that will pour into you every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they spend their life's work in making sure that they build, strengthen, and encourage the people that they encounter. And they offer services that either can be done separately with Coach Vaun or separately with Coach Michelamonè or together with the both of them. And they offer programs and encouraging words and all these different things that coaches such as us do to make sure that we teach you how to validate yourself so that you're whole when you get into the relationship, or whole while you're in the relationship. Because ultimately you are a sum of who the person that you attracted to, or the person that you are with, or all those insecurities that you pouring out are things that are happening within yourself. And if you're going to just mirror it until you heal yourself. You're going to keep hurting somebody with the very same things you are hurting with. Let me say that again so that you can get clear what I'm saying. When you're insecure and you're looking for validation from somebody else outside of your partner, your mate, your insecurity is being pushed onto your partner or your mate when that's really what's happening within you. So you're projecting that same pain. I love how Coach Vaun says, what about the bleeding? Say the quote that you say.
Oh yeah, if you don't heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you.
This is the same thing with the cheating. When you don't know who you are and you're abusing yourself, but you call it, I'm just going to go ahead and get a nut, or I'm just going to put a couple more notches on my belt, or I'm going to go on and get somebody to show me how good I am today. It is because you're bleeding on the inside. And when you're bleeding on the inside, now you are taking that same thing that you're bleeding with, and now you're cutting somebody else by hurting them. And now you're bleeding all over them and causing them to bleed. And so that they're going to now bleed on you. This is cycle. It's this bloodbath going on. And you've got to get to the place where you are not doing that, where you're healing on the inside, doing what you need to do, getting some coaching individually and together so that you can find out how to relate to one another, and then also how to relate to yourself.
Yep. Look, Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Wow.
Right? Easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Why am I telling you that? It's because this is a large part of what motivates me to work on couples, right? Because especially couples with children, I'm extremely passionate about helping couples with children to foster a healthy relationship environment, because ultimately the cues on what it takes to maintain a healthy relationship, we get those from our parents, and it's hard to be what you haven't seen.
Right.
So as children, if we can present for them a picture of what a healthy relationship looks like, then we increase their chances for having a healthy relationship once they reach adulthood.
Absolutely.
Right. So a large part of, look, man, I don't want to make this too political, but if you just look at the dynamics that are facing Black people, I think at the very foundation of what's causing us to fail, or what's contributing to our failure as a collective, is our inability to maintain.
Sorry.
It's cool.
I'm trying to get your phone.
Our inability to, or our great difficulty in maintaining healthy masculine and feminine relationships.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the best place to foster that is in the home, for our children to grow up seeing what that looks like, so that as they go on, boom, they can replicate that. This is what we're here for, man. I'm telling you, if y'all are struggling, look, I know we got to close out because we're getting at the top now. But if y'all are struggling, man, you got to get some help, whether it's from us individually or us together, or even if it's somebody outside of us, you want to go somewhere else. The point is, we have to work harder at presenting our families, not only our children, but our nieces and nephews, and even other children in the community. They need to start to see what healthy relating between male and female looks like. You might be surprised how many young people have come to me and told me that they have never seen a healthy relationship between a man and a woman. Like the fact that I've been with my wife for 30 plus years, they like, where they do that at? And I'm like, man, that has to become more common, to have couples who are able to maintain and sustain something that, presents a healthier picture. Go ahead, Coach.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry about that. I people don't get, when I first met Vaun and connected with him, I had never seen anybody my age been together that long. Wow. And I'm 50 years old. At the time we met, I was 48, but I had never seen somebody my age that together that long. And it's just really sad. And so we have to understand that we are not raising babies. We're raising adults to be somebody else's adult husband or wife. And if we're not putting in that time to do that, we're doing it for naught. And this is the thing, like I put on my TikTok earlier, and I had this conversation with this woman, and she was saying that, KS, he comes at these women because they disrespectful and things of that sort. And I said, when will it stop? So to go to what Coach Vaun said about the community, it doesn't matter whether it's your man, your woman, or your friend down the street, and he's single or she's single. You cannot keep going back and forth with each other. Somebody has got to stop. Somebody has got to make the decision that I'm not going to fight you, man. I'm not going to fight you, sister, regardless if we're together as husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, whatever. We don't need to keep showing other people that don't live in our house that it is okay to run up the walls, dirty them, punch holes in the walls, write derogatory things on the wall, and do all those things. Why? Because this is our house. Start treating your house the way you want it treated. And then you don't have to worry about somebody coming up in your house shooting down everybody. You don't have to worry about coming into your house putting their neck on your family member. You don't have to worry about you getting killed because of whatever in something in your house. Because the people on the outside of your house, you're making sure that they understand. Now, people up in here, we respect. People up in here, we're kind to. People up in here, we treat good. So that when somebody from the outside come in, they know how to treat the folk in the house.
Right. Yep. They're go ahead. My fault.
And that's without me being. If y'all can't follow that, hit me up and I'll tell you on the side, because I've already been deemed that folk saying that. Let me shut up.
Hey, you ready to close them out, Coach? I guess we didn't held these people for about 2 hours. I'm sure we holding them from their dinner.
Yes, let me say this real quick. There was a Louis B. Smees. He says to forgive is to set a person free. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that prisoner was you.
Ooh, do that one more time. Run that back.
Louis B. Smees says to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you.
Heavy.
He who angers you controls you like a puppet.
I like that. So, and I anger is one of those things that really can ruin a person. One of my favorite quotes is, "Anger is the wind that blows out the lamp of the mind." Right? Give a speech when you're angry, and you give the greatest speech you'll ever regret.
Wow. Yeah, right. we gotta do better.
Yeah, we do.
So listen, let me say this part and then you close us out. Yep. If y'all watching us right now, please make sure that you've hearted us. If you haven't hearted us, look at your page. You see that if it's white, then that means you ain't heard us.
Right.
Make it heart us, okay? Make sure that you are following all of our social media platforms, Vaun the Love Alchemist on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all of them. All of them, we own them. We own them all. Okay, Coach Michelamonè, ATR, all things relevant. We're on all social media platforms. If there's a social media platform, we're there. We may not be real active on our Twitter pages. Don't worry about that. Okay, but make sure that you are following us and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get those YouTubes up. Please make sure that you're sharing. Go to our YouTube page, subscribe, hit the red bell. Also, click the link and then share it to somebody else so that they also can do the same. It won't cost you anything but a couple minutes of your time. When you're sharing the drama, you can share the good stuff too.
Yep. There is an ancient Egyptian proverb that says, "A beautiful picture is never perfect." I'm saying that to say, family, our relationships don't have to be perfect. Right? We don't have to be perfect. We just doing our best to be healthy. Yeah. Right. And when it's all said and done, all you can do is all you can do. And that's enough. Just make sure you do all you can do. That's the word, family. We love y'all. Peace.